welcome to another episode of Expand Your Brand. Today we're joined by a very special guest. He's Kevin A. Dunlap. He's a business strategist at Optimal Performance Academy. Kevin, how are you today?
I'm doing great, thank you. How about you?
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining Austin and myself today. And we're very excited to hear about Optimal Performance Academy and what you're doing and what you're doing in the entrepreneurship world. It's awesome to have an entrepreneur on this podcast. I feel like our previous guests have all been entrepreneurs or business owners of their own. So this is very exciting to bring you on the show, someone who's not local either, who's located in North Carolina. But Kevin, why don't you get started and tell us about Optimal Performance Academy?
I would love to. In early 2021, I wrote my fourth book, which was called Launch, the A to Z in Creating a Successful Business. And just to let you know, I've been an entrepreneur since 1999. And when I wrote the book was about was the logistics of starting a business, like going from business plans, marketing, and all that stuff. And it has like 43 different exercises in it.
Wow.
In 2022, I decided to move from where I was living in Las Vegas at the time, and I moved to Raleigh, North Carolina, to be closer to my brothers. And after like a month or two of living here, I thought about, why don't I turn my book into a business? The book talks about all these different aspects, and then I remembered back. I had a a part-time job when I was a college math teacher when I was living in Wilmington, North Carolina, back in the early 2000s. And I remember that I remember I loved to teach. I loved to help people. So when I was thinking about how to turn that book into a business, like, well, I can create online courses, I can create workshops, I can create coaching programs, consulting programs, and that's where the academy, the idea for the academy came from. Is when you go to a college, when you go to a school, you may have different ways that you can digest the material. You could do it online. You could do it with a teacher, or maybe you have a tutor, or you have something along those lines. And I wanted to offer something very similar to that.
Awesome. That's really cool to come up with. And what was that process like to create that website and go through everything? I mean, it just sounds like you really gave a lot of options and everything for people to digest, how to digest the information that you're giving them. Like, what was that like?
Well, it's still a work in progress. I mean, I created my very first program, which was called a Roadmap for Business Success. That's my first online program, which also became one of my webinars. It's one of my webinars that I frequently give. And I also, for people that come to our website, I also give that course away for free. So that way people can get a taste of what kind of stuff that I'm going to be teaching. Now that is a 1 hour program. It's broken down into different segments, but it is a 1 hour program altogether. And for my process was for me to be able to grow a business. People are, if they're going to want to invest in you, they need to know if you're going to be able to solve the problems for them. This is why back in of April of 2023, I started my own meetup group. It's called meetup.com/small-business-owners. And we give we have our Tuesday trainings where we're right now twice a month on first and third Tuesday of the month. We give a free 90-minute to a 2 hour training on a particular topic that is also interactive, just like you would be if you were in a classroom. Now, we do this online at the moment. We started off doing it in person, but then I realized I could actually affect more people by being online than you had to live in the Raleigh or the Durham area. And then you have to commute to get to that location. And then after I created my first program, I thought about my second program, then my third program. And some of my initial programs were actually topics that I would cover in my book, in my book Launch, the A to Z Creating a Successful Business. And as I'm doing it now, is I'm now creating content for my Tuesday training, and then I'll have the event, and then I'll say that was some good content. So I put this into my membership site, which people they can re-attend these events. And then I also say, no, that was a great event. Why don't I re-record this and make it a course? And therefore I go back and do that as well. So
Yeah, why not?
it's like a double purpose. So like for an example, in one of my previous trainings, I did one on time management, and then like, well, this could actually become a course. So on that 2 days later, I re-recorded the content, made it into sections. So so in this lesson, we're going to be talking about, and then we talk about one topic. In the next lesson, we're going to be talking about this, and that was my outro, so that to go into the next section, so I could break those things down. So that's what I'm doing now. Is every time I create a free training, is like, can I also create a course around that? But I have to re-record it because I don't want to have people interacting on a on a paid course, because to me that's like for example, if I was leading this call and I had the two of you on there, well, you guys are not getting paid to be on there, but I'm using your imagery, so I just don't want to do that. So I'll go back and re-record it on my own.
Nice.
Yeah, that's great. You talked about having people being kind of how you started this whole process. Is that the main motivating factor and driving force of it, or is there another aspect of it that you would like to share?
Well, one of the things, when I was living in Las Vegas, I was running my own business, and it was a real estate business. The From 2004 until 2012, I ran a real estate consultation business. So essentially, what I did was I connected owner landlords with tenant buyers through my lease option program. This is a program that I created from scratch back in 2004. 2012, I decided to actually go ahead and get my real estate license. So I became a realtor at that time as well. And one thing that I realized, that regardless if the housing market is strong or weak or whatever, a lot of people just don't know how to be an entrepreneur. Then, so say for an example, if a realtor goes and gets a realtor's license, fantastic, but they still may have that 9 to 5 job mentality. And then it's like, and then the thing is, their broker or their boss is not giving them their leads, not giving them their clients. They've got to go and figure out how to find those people on their own. And the same is true with most other small businesses. Is if you're starting off as a solopreneur, or what I'm calling a bipreneur, which means a husband and wife or two people working together. The learning curve can be pretty steep, especially if you're trying to do it all on your own, or if you're trying to do it all for free, which is by far the most expensive way to go. That's when you do it all for free, it'll take you 6 months to learn something if you paid $100 for that you could have learned in one afternoon.
Yeah.
That's
Very interesting.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
it
Jeff.
is. Oh, go ahead. It is very interesting. Like, what's a mindset of an entrepreneur? How do you flip that switch? Like, how does someone get into that mindset of entrepreneurship?
Well, the thing is, you've got to have look at it from the perspective that this is. I'm assuming you love what you're doing. So having the entrepreneur mindset is like, I love what I do. I want to help the people that I'm going to be helping. I'm going to be solving whatever the problem that you're going to be solving, and then everything else goes on the back burner. This is no longer I'm going to go to work at 9 o'clock and finish at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. This is not now going to be like when I was a realtor in Las Vegas. Well, in Las Vegas is we don't export anything. The only thing that we really export are broke people. That's all that we export. And because of that, Vegas is a very service-oriented town. I mean, yes, we have restaurants, we have that, which is still service. We have regular businesses there, but there's a lot of people that are in the service industry. Well, if you're a bartender, if you're a valet or something along those lines, those people they typically want to work on the weekends, so they're only free during the week. But your regular 9 to 5 job people, where they work during the week, they're only free on the weekends. So when I was a realtor there, I mean, I needed to have my schedule open where I was available 7 days a week. I'd be available at my clients' availability. Now, of course, I put my own stuff on my schedule as well, but that was true at that. So having that, when you talk about the mindset, is like, how can I best serve the people that I want to help?
Right. We will get back to our episode with Kevin, but here is a quick word from our sponsor.
Welcome to Vintage Cigar Lounge, the place where you escape to, not from. A place where your cigar options are limitless. A place where friends come together and bond over the finest cigars and drinks. A place where your selected few can retreat to and enjoy premium cigars, great conversation and your liquor of choice within the privacy of our private rooms. Looking for a place to escape to? Our doors are always open.
Thank you very much, Vintage Cigar Lounge. And now back to our episode with Kevin A. Dunlap.
Yeah, very interesting. Can we go back a second? You said as a realtor consultant, you didn't need to have your real estate license. How does that work? I'm pretty intrigued by that. How you can even how that works actually.
Well, I was a real estate consultant, not a realtor consultant. So the word realtor actually implies that you're now part of the board of realtors.
Yeah.
So as a real estate consultant, what I would do is I would finally say Jeffrey is the tenant, is the owner landlord, and Austin was the tenant buyer. Jeffrey would come to me, and I would actually put the house under contract with him, where I have an interest in buying that house, it's basically I have an option to buy that house. And then I would go and in exchange for consideration, I gave my services for free. I would go and shoot pictures of your house. I'll go shoot video of your house. I'll create my marketing campaigns for your house, specifically for lease option. And then once I got all that stuff done, then I start marketing that home. Then say maybe 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, Austin finds one of my ads that I was running. He said, "Hey Kevin, I want to go see this home." I'll go show that home to him, to Austin. And if he wanted to move forward, then we would just sign a contract between Austin and Jeffrey. And then I would sign you, Austin, my rights that I had with Jeffrey over to you. So that's what I did for over 8 years. I mean,
Interesting.
yeah. So my best year in doing that was in 2011 during the housing crunch. In 2010, I did 35 transactions that year. In 2011, my goal in 2011 was to do 52 transactions. I wanted to do one a week. On December 31st at 10 o'clock at night, I signed my 53rd transaction.
Wow.
Oh wow.
That's
awesome.
So 53 transactions that were specifically to lease options that was not listed on the MLS. So I was doing all the marketing on my own. And that is where, on a side note, this is where I learned. I know you've got an audio audience and you also have a video audience. I'm going to show you both something that changed my life completely in 2009. I went to a real estate seminar, and this changed my life even now. So all your listeners and viewers, I think, should really pay close attention here. But anyway, I went to a real estate seminar, and they were giving away door prizes. And there was like 400 people at the event. There was 2 door prizes that were giving away. I won the second door prize. And let me ask you, do y'all know what this is? And I'll tell the audio audience what it is once it is guessed. This is what I won that changed my life forever.
Camera?
A ring? Doorbell?
A USB?
No. It's a 1 hour flip camcorder.
Oh.
So this will shoot up to 1 hour of video. And this is the first time a camcorder was that small that could fit into your pocket. Because this is 2009. Cell phones were still like really dumb phones. I started shooting video of my house, put these videos on YouTube, connected them to my website, had the video embedded on my website. So let's say when Austin's seeing I have 30 homes on my list, Austin's going through all my homes. After he sees like 25 of these homes, he says, I like this house here. Do you think he already trusts me? And he sees that my website is saying, hey, this house has been sold, this one's under contract. So he's seeing the fluctuation on my website. Do you think after several videos that Austin's not going to trust me if he was that tenant buyer? And the answer to that is yes.
Yeah.
So to me, that's when I learned your face is your brand. So for those of you out there that are running a business, one of the first things I strongly suggest you to do is start shooting video of some sort and posting it on your social media accounts. Put it on YouTube. Have backlinks going to your website. And the reason I say that, after about 2 years of shooting videos with this flip camcorder, I was actually, if you typed in lease option Las Vegas into Google, I was on page 1 of Google at least 4 times. And 2 of those times was YouTube videos.
Wow. That's crazy.
Wow, yeah.
So that is
awesome.
Free advice for your listeners and viewers.
Perfect. Thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, like you touched upon like social media and video. What has social media and video done to like entrepreneurs and people like, you mentioned video, like what has it done to the entrepreneurship world? I feel like there's a lot more people trying to become like content creators or TikTok creators. What's that like life like for those?
Well, I mean, the thing is, by shooting by shooting video, it could be YouTube, it could be TikTok, it could be Shorts, it could be whatever it is that you're going to be doing. You're starting to get in front of the audience. It's more than just having some kind of a meme or some kind of just a posting on a social media. But if you're sharing something that gives good value and it gives and has good content in it, then that's just going to help you with your business. The negative side of this is a lot of people don't shoot video, that don't shoot you that kind of stuff, and they wonder why they're not doing so well in business because they're afraid to be in front of the camera or
Right.
be speaking into a microphone.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's tough when the comments section can kill you. And a second for something if you don't speak right or if you don't have the right editing. But it is true. I mean, I think when you're face on the camera on social media, I feel like a lot of accounts that I see, people are very successful just being on camera and talking about whatever they're interested in to become an entrepreneur.
Well, and the thing is, like when I had some other people go shoot video for me, I asked them like, because they were always like, "What if I mess up on the camera?" Like, you're going to mess up. Period. I mean, let me ask you this: do you think Robert Downey Jr. gets everything right on the first take?
No, absolutely.
No. So why should you have to be everything right on the first take? And people that are paid millions don't get it right.
Yeah, that is so true. That is very true. What do you think has been your biggest challenge in your career? Whether it be with the real estate consulting or Optimal Performance Academy.
The biggest challenge that I'm going to talk about because the academy's only been around for a little more than a year, so I'm still working out challenges and stuff like that. So if you want to talk about the biggest challenges, to me, the biggest challenges is how adaptable are you in your business when things change. I ran a lease option business where people were moving into a house to buy a house at a higher price and during a housing crunch when prices were going down. I mean, come on, that's
Yeah.
a challenge. COVID-19, that was a challenge. So there's AI right now is going to be a challenge to some people, meaning like, hey, I'm losing my job because of AI. So the thing is, whenever you're running a business and a challenge comes up is how can I still do the same thing that I'm doing, but do it in a different way? For me, with the housing crunch, before we were my lease option program was we would find tenant buyers, and because the housing prices were going up significantly, I had a network of investors at that time, and we'll find a tenant buyer, and then we'll go and look at houses on the MLS, with a realtor, put it under contract in my name, and then I would sign my name over to the end investor that was going to buy it, and we were doing a 1-year contract with a 30% increase in prices. But in 2004, you could do that.
Wow. Yeah.
2009, you couldn't. So
Yeah,
I had
yeah.
to adjust my business. So the thing is, I mean, like those are like the people that when COVID came down, the small business owners, when COVID came on, they could no longer meet their client, but they had the foresight to say, hey, we could use Skype or this new thing called Zoom and connect online. Those people made it. The people that were suffering and crying because nobody was coming into their business, or if they were a coach, they're no longer meeting one-to-one in person, and they did not adapt to that kind of a change. You have to adapt, and that's the whole thing. Is you always have to adapt to big changes. For those of you that are in real estate, if you've been in real estate long enough, you will know that real estate goes ups and downs. It's going to peaks, and then the values are going to drop, and go up and go down. And you just, as a realtor or a real estate professional, how do you adjust your marketing to find the right people when times change?
Yeah. Very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very
So
interesting.
yeah, so you hit on wrote 4 books previously. Other than the A to Z book, the last one that you wrote, what are the other 3 titles of those, and what has been the process like of writing each book, and all 4 in total?
Well, my first book. Now that book was essentially my FAQs turned into a book. And then after I realized after I did that was by far the most boring thing had ever written. So I decided to go and rewrite that book as a narrative. So I had a Peggy and a Roger, people who had bad credit that wanted to buy a house, and they were going to go through the lease option process. So therefore, I was able to kind of a nonfiction so that way you can have different viewpoints and things like that.
Yep.
That came out in 2015. In 2016, I hired a book writing coach, and then I created a book called Designing Your Own Destiny. And that was a workbook slash personal growth, personal development book. Now, that one was a pretty long book. It took me a year to write that one. And I went through like four rounds with a content editor on that book. Now,
Okay.
I used the strategies that my book writing coach gave me when I wrote that book, which is completely different than how I wrote my first one. And it's strategies that I used in my third and fourth book. The third book was called the Winner's Code: Secrets of the Winner's Mindset, and that's a book that's on the 8 different mindsets. And that's going to be and the best mindset to have is the last one, which is called the winner's mindset. How can you make this a win-win for all parties? So that was about a half as thick, or maybe a third as thick as my second book. And then, of course, my fourth book was launched A to Z in creating a successful business. And that one was a 10 years in the making on that one. That was 10 years of going to courses, seminars, workshops, and all the stuff that I learned from that. And then I sat down and just wrote that book. I started in December of 2020, and I think I launched it in either March or April of 2021.
Oh
That
wow.
one
Oh
was
my
actually my
God.
easiest.
That's crazy. So you took a lot of like interest. I mean, A to Z sounded like it was a lot of work with all the seminars and everything over the years that you attended. What's it been like to write these books and get them out? And have you received any feedback from anyone just like saying how you really helped them in the entrepreneurship world and helped them out?
Yes, all 4 books are self-published through Amazon.
Yeah.
The self-publishing arm of Amazon is called KDP, for Kindle Direct Publishing. And so they're all on Amazon, and then there is feedback on all 4 of the books as well. As far as the other kind of testimonials and stuff, I just started asking people to give me testimonials on my Google My Business page. Technically, it's now called Google Business Profile,
Yeah.
but it used to be called Google My Business. That's what most people still call it. And so I am getting testimonials on that. Now, one thing I do suggest that for all your viewers and listeners is that if you've got a business and you've got a Google Business Profile page, get the link that you have on there. Maybe make it a short code of some sort, or a redirect if you know what that is. And then ask people to leave you a 5-star review. Every time you help somebody out, let's say when I have my classes, I always ask, hey, can y'all leave a 5-star review? And that's one of the things I strongly suggest everybody. Most people are afraid to ask for it. But
Yeah.
first off, if you think you've done a good job and they outwardly said that you did a good job, don't ask for a review. Ask for a 5-star review.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the best way to do it. I mean, if you have the opportunity to ask, and especially if you're doing it, yeah, that's awesome. It helps your reviews and gets people drive more viewers to your page.
Well, and it's not only that, because even if you're going to say, if you're a realtor and you don't have a web page outside of your page, that's going to be the one that's through your broker. So you may not have a Google Business Profile, but you do have a Zillow profile, or you can get a Zillow
Yeah,
profile, and that's where you get your 5-star reviews at.
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's great. What would be, if you were to think about kind of when you were younger, what would be your message to your younger self, or kids kind of starting out, whether they're just graduating high school or just graduating college? Like, kind of take us back, and what would your mindset be?
Well, for me, I didn't back in '99 after I got downsized as a computer programmer in my opinion, a very poor way. At that time, I never knew I could become an entrepreneur. That had not even crossed my mind. So it was actually my very first business was in network marketing. For the first 6 or 9 months of my very first business, it was a network marketing company. The only reason I didn't stay with them is because they were shut down by the FTC. So, so I would say it's never too early to start a business. You can do it. You don't have to be a millionaire. At that time, when I said, if I'm going to start my own business, how much money? I didn't have hundreds of thousands of dollars, but you don't need that. I mean, you can get started on a shoestring budget. And secondly, you can also do it as a side hustle. You don't have to, it's not black and white. You can't, it's not going to be, I have a day job, so I can't have a side business. No, you can do both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In reality, you can back about that. I don't even know why I haven't thought about this in 30 years. My mom was a registered nurse and she sold Avon.
Oh,
So she was doing her side, her entrepreneurial concept as a side hustle.
yeah.
Yep.
That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, it's great that you mentioned that you can do it. I think a lot of people think when they get start an entrepreneurship or a business, they really need to get going with as much funding as possible and think that they need $1 million to start. But like you said, if you can do it as a side hustle and go as a side hustle, I like that. I like that message to our listeners out there, because I think going after something that you love and doing it as a side hustle is a great thing until it becomes a full-time job.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here's the thing is, I will never, ever, ever, ever tell somebody when they're working a side hustle that to quit their job. I would never tell them to do that.
No.
This is what I would say though. So when your side hustle, the money you're making off of that equals to or is better than what you're making at your day job, at your regular job, then you have the decision to have an important decision. Do I still keep working my day job because I love it, because I'm going to be retiring in 3 weeks, or do I cut back to part time, or do I quit? I mean, it's not black and white. So
Yeah.
it's not one or the other. There can be an and in there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Kevin, I got one fun question outside of just, the Optimal Performance Academy, like what you do for entrepreneurship as well too. I want to ask, what do you do in your spare time? It sounds like you're a busy guy.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're always, it sounds like you're on entrepreneurship, but what do you like to do for fun? Do you have any hobbies? Do you play golf? Do you do anything like that?
I do like road trips.
Yeah.
Back after my dad passed away in September 21, a car that I was kind of wanted to get was a Honda Accord Coupe. I could never find one in Vegas, so I bought one in Pensacola, Florida. And remember, I lived in Vegas. My car and I were in Florida. And I had 2 weeks to kill before picking up my dad's ashes and taking them up to Tennessee to be buried. I ended up doing a 14-day driving the circumference of Florida road trip.
Wow.
So
Very
and
cool.
then after that, I drove up to Birmingham, met up with my older brother. He drove to Tennessee, back to Birmingham that same day, and then I drove to Wilmington, North Carolina, which is coastal North Carolina, and then back to Las Vegas. So that road trip was 30 days in length. So
Wow.
hotels and Airbnbs the whole time. I got back on November 13th, which would have been my dad's birthday.
That's
And then I saw a friend of mine, and then I had Thanksgiving with a friend. And I said, I only want to see my friend Kathleen. She lives in San Diego. So I ended up driving all the way up to Brookings, Oregon, and then back on the circumference of California, which took me another 24 days. So in about
Wow.
2.5 months, I was on the road for 54 days.
Oh my God.
Wow.
So I saw 14 states. I've seen six. My car and I have seen 16 states at the time of this recording. I would love to sometime in early 2000 or early next year, when it gets a little bit warmer, is to drive to Virginia and then drive up the coast to see all the lighthouses all the way up through Maine and probably even into Nova Scotia, and then drive back in the interior, which will add 13 more states for my car. And I'm making a total of 29. I love road trips because
Yeah.
you go and see things that you've never seen before. And here's one thing here's a piece of advice. I know this is kind of I'm going a little bit on a tangent here, is that if you don't have a schedule, you have to be somewhere at a certain time, then I would highly recommend that you limit your drive from one city to the next city to 3 or 4 hours maximum. There is no need to do a marathon drive unless you have to. So if by doing that, when I started, I went from Pensacola to Tallahassee. That's a 3-hour drive. I went to school at Florida State University for grad school. So let me go check out my major professor. Let me go walk the campus. Let me go check out Tallahassee. Then the next day I drove to St. Augustine, which is like another 3 or 4 hours. I went down to Daytona. I walked went to St. Augustine and climbed that lighthouse and just enjoyed that trip. And that's why it took me so long to drive the circumference of Florida. I could have done it in 3 days, but it took me 14 days because I was seeing what every town had to offer. So what I would do is I get up in the morning, depending on if I was going to stay the morning there in that town, like I get up at 8 o'clock and let's go check out this museum at 9 o'clock, because that's when they open. And then I'm on the road to the next city by 1 or 2 o'clock.
Wow.
Perfect.
That's a great way to live life. I had to
Yeah.
know what was your favorite stop?
I kind of found out yesterday that this is not as unique as I thought it was. That I thought it was, but the longest drive that I did was a 6-hour drive from Fort Worth to El Paso. And I was looking on Google, what is there to see between Fort Worth and El Paso? So every day I was looking on there, kind of find out there's a University of Texas in Odessa, Texas, that has a full-size replica of Stonehenge.
Really? I didn't know that.
Wow. Yeah.
Google knew that, but I found that I like, and I thought, like, this is pretty cool. I was talking to a guy literally yesterday in Australia. There's a Stonehenge in Oregon. There's a Stonehenge in Australia. There's who knew there's so many replicas out there?
I had no idea.
Wow.
But there are so many unique things out there. I mean, the best part of the trip was when I was driving through Shreveport, Louisiana, and I met this guy. I cannot remember his name. It was a guy that he was the planetarian director at the Shreveport Discovery Center. Now, when you hear the word Discovery Center, most people know kids. This is a place for kids to interact and touch things. I wasn't thinking about that, but the reason I went there was because of the planetarium. My goal, I think they opened at 10 o'clock and they closed at 4 o'clock. So I got there right when they opened. I was going to be there maybe an hour and a half, and then I'll be on the road. At 5 o'clock, I was looking for a hotel room because I spent the entire day. The planetarium manager was the first time I've been able to geek out completely in 20 years. I mean, we were just talking science. He took me up to see all the sun telescopes, all the other telescopes that nobody else would look at. Only the amateur astronomers would see these telescopes. We just geeked out. I love that one experience.
That's awesome.
That's great. Well, if you do come up north and check out the lighthouses, we'll meet you in Watch Hill for dinner or coffee.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, let's see. Rhode Island is one of the states that I went to. That's part of the 13 on the loop.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Let us know for sure. Well, Kevin, thank you so much for joining us today, and it's been awesome to get to know you and speak with you. If where can everyone find your information if they want to reach out or anything? Where will they be able to reach you, Kevin?
The best place to do is go to our website, because I do have a contact us page, and I also have a calendar of events, as well as all of our coaching programs, and all of our classes are on our website. And I'll say this twice. It's going to be at Optimal Performance Academy.org. Again, that's Optimal Performance Academy.org. And yes, they can contact me on there. They can schedule a 30 or even a 60-minute a private one-on-one consultation session on there as well as see everything else that we have. And all of that's on the first page.
Awesome. Well, we'll plug in that link as well with a description of the YouTube page. You'll be able to see that link as well to reach out to Kevin. Thank you, Kevin, for your time today. I hope you enjoy the rest of your night. And thanks again for joining us.
It's been my pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.